The journey of Dakota Dicha through the world of mixed martial arts is a story defined by precision, determination, and the kind of striking power that seizes spectators' attention the moment she steps into the cage. From her beginnings as a young amateur fighter to becoming one of the most devastating knockout artists of her generation, her rise has been accompanied by moments so intense and so decisive that they continue to be replayed, discussed, and admired. The path she has carved is not one shaped by accident but by discipline, relentless practice, and a natural ferocity that becomes unmistakable once the bell rings. To understand her ascent, one must look closely at the pivotal fights that reveal the evolution of her technique, the growth of her confidence, and the unwavering mindset that turned her into a formidable force in women's MMA. Years before she would become a recognizable name in professional fighting circles, Dakota was already demonstrating qualities that set her apart. Even in training sessions, coaches noted her ability to absorb instruction and translate it instantly into movement. Her combinations flowed with a level of natural instinct, yet she balanced this instinct with discipline and strategy. The amateur circuit is a forge in which raw talent is either broken or refined, and Dakota's early career revealed that she was on the side of refinement. Fans who attended the smaller shows began to talk about the young fighter with the precise jab, the sharp kicks, and the fearlessness to march forward even in the face of experienced challengers. Her reputation steadily grew as she stepped into cages across the United Kingdom, gaining both experience and recognition. One of the first major steps in her development occurred at UKFC 9 on March 23, 2019, when she faced Leonora Silvia. Though still early in her fighting journey, Dakota entered the cage with a calm confidence that instantly commanded attention. The atmosphere inside the venue was electric, buzzing with the anticipation that accompanies promising prospects. As the fighters touched gloves, it became clear that Dakota was fully prepared for the moment. From the opening exchange, she took control of the pace and direction of the fight. Her footwork allowed her to glide smoothly across the cage, leaving Leonora struggling to find angles. Dakota mixed her strikes with fluidity, snapping crisp jabs before launching powerful kicks that forced her opponent backward. Every shot carried purpose, probing Leonora's defense and testing her reactions. Leonora attempted to counter and even sought to close the distance for takedowns, but Dakota's defensive awareness prevented any meaningful control. The crowd responded to each successful sprawl, each evasive pivot, and every punch that snapped Leonora's head back. As the minutes passed, Dakota's dominance became increasingly apparent. She managed distance with the instincts of a far more seasoned fighter. She refused to let emotions dictate her choices, staying composed even when pressured. By the second round, Leonora's movements had slowed under the weight of accumulated strikes. Dakota seized the moment, swarming her with combinations that left the referee little choice. He stepped between them, signaling a TKO victory that marked one of the earliest foundational wins of Dakota's budding career. This fight did more than add a triumph to her amateur record. It revealed qualities of a future professional. Observers noted her accuracy, balance, tactical intelligence, and mental strength. While many young fighters struggle with adrenaline or chaotic decision-making, Dakota displayed the poise of someone who could see several steps ahead. This performance set the tone for the fighter she would become and placed her trajectory firmly on the upward path toward the professional ranks. That path led her to one of the most significant nights of her early career, her professional MMA debut at Caged Steel 25 on April 10, 2021. Her opponent, Jenny Line, entered the cage aware of Dakota's reputation as a dangerous striker, but the reality of Dakota's presence was something altogether different. The opening bell marked the beginning of a fight that would quickly demonstrate the gap between an experienced amateur with dangerous potential and a newcomer still finding her footing under the bright lights. Dakota pressed forward immediately, cutting off angles and forcing Jenny into reactive movements rather than proactive ones. Her combinations were sharp, carrying both speed and intent. She targeted openings with the accuracy of a fighter who had spent countless hours perfecting her timing. Jenny attempted to find a rhythm, throwing counters in hopes of disrupting Dakota's momentum, but she struggled to keep up with the pace. Dakota's strikes connected with a clarity that echoed through the arena. Knees landed with a thud, punches cracked against the guard, and kicks snapped at the legs and midsection. Each combination chipped away at Jenny's resolve. As the intensity rose, Dakota sensed the shift in her opponent's posture. She pressed the advantage, unleashing a series of heavy shots that forced the referee to intervene before the damage escalated further. The TKO victory solidified Dakota's arrival into the professional realm and sent a message to the MMA community. A new and dangerous contender had entered the scene. The significance of that debut extended beyond the immediate win. It showcased Dakota's ability to transition seamlessly from the amateur stage into the professional environment without losing any measure of composure. The lights were brighter, the stakes higher, and the expectations heavier, yet she fought as though every element was familiar. For many fighters, the pressure of a first professional bout can diminish clarity and execution, but Dakota thrived under it. The win became the spark that ignited broader recognition, drawing attention from fans, analysts, and promoters who understood the value of a fighter capable of finishing opponents with such precision and assertiveness. Her momentum only intensified when she entered her second professional bout at Celtic Gladiator 30, where she faced Carrie Isom. This fight provided Dakota another opportunity to reveal her rapidly developing skill set, and from the moment she stepped into the cage, she radiated confidence. The experience of her debut had added another layer to her mentality. She no longer fought merely to prove she belonged, she fought to establish dominance. Carrie, a determined and resilient competitor, hoped to test Dakota's limits, but the opening exchanges made the unfolding outcome clear. Dakota's jab sliced through the air, landing with consistency. Her ability to control distance prevented Carrie from launching meaningful offense. Dakota's pressure forced the pace entirely in her favor, compelling her opponent to react defensively rather than initiate. Throughout the fight, Dakota mixed elbows, kicks, and punches with artistry. A spinning back elbow nearly connected early in the round, drawing gasps from the crowd. The creativity in her striking, combined with her discipline, made her dangerous from every angle. Carrie attempted to rally with looping punches and forward pressure, but Dakota's precision allowed her to land cleaner, more effective shots each time. As the damage accumulated and Carrie's defenses weakened, Dakota intensified her assault. Elbows carved paths through her opponent's guard, and knees struck with devastating force. The referee watched closely as Carrie absorbed more punishment than she could safely endure. At 4 minutes and 49 seconds into the first round, he stepped in to stop the fight, awarding Dakota another TKO victory. This performance demonstrated that Dakota's knockout power was not an isolated trait, it was a consistent and reliable component of her arsenal. Analysts began recognizing her as more than a promising newcomer. She was a rising star exhibiting the attributes of a future elite contender. Her power, timing, footwork, and sense of range had matured. Her combination sequences were no longer just effective but efficient. She expended no more energy than necessary to generate damage. Every strike was selected with tactical purpose. This level of refinement so early in her career is rare, and it contributed to the rapid expansion of her fan base. As Dakota continued her ascent, the year 2025 became a defining chapter in her professional story. The entire year seemed charged with intensity as she delivered knockout after knockout, each one more explosive than the last. Fans who had followed her from her amateur days were astonished by the evolution of her power and technique. Those newly introduced to her fights found themselves witnessing a fighter who blended aggression with precision and creativity with discipline. Every match felt like a highlight reel in motion. Her opponents entered cages with full knowledge of her reputation, yet that knowledge did little to protect them. Dakota fought with an energy that radiated confidence. She controlled exchanges with the rhythm and timing of someone who had mastered her skill set. Her striking combinations cracked through guards and collapsed defenses. The blend of knees, punches, and kicks she employed became trademarks of her style. Commentators struggled to find new words to describe her performances because each victory carried the same undeniable truth. Dakota was becoming one of the most dangerous finishers in her division. Her year was marked by a series of first-round TKOs that showcased her ability to read opponents instantly. She identified patterns, adjusted seamlessly, and exploited weaknesses before her opponents even had time to settle into the fight. Fans and analysts praised her for her ability to maintain control without becoming reckless. Power fighters sometimes fall into the trap of charging forward with uncontrolled aggression, but Dakota avoided such pitfalls. She maintained discipline even while landing some of the most brutal finishing sequences of the season. Her success in 2025 also intensified discussions about her future. Promoters, commentators, and coaches began predicting her rise through the rankings. Her potential to become a title contender became a frequent talking point. With each victory, her reputation grew not just as a skilled fighter but as one who possessed an aura of inevitability. Opponents recognized the challenge she presented not only physically but also mentally. Facing a fighter known for early knockouts creates a psychological hurdle that few can overcome. Dakota wielded that psychological edge with quiet intensity, never trash-talking but letting her performances speak louder than any words could. Outside the cage, Dakota occasionally reflected publicly on her journey and her future. After so many victories and so much rapid growth, she asked herself what the next 16 years might hold. It was a question that echoed with introspective weight. In a sport where careers can be short, unpredictable, and physically demanding, thinking far ahead reveals a mind not consumed solely by present triumphs. Dakota seemed aware that success in the cage is only part of a larger personal narrative. The reflections hinted at a spiritual awareness, a reminder that even those who dominate physically must confront deeper questions of identity, purpose, and legacy. Her remark about preparing to meet God was interpreted by many as a philosophical expression rather than a literal warning. It signaled her understanding that a fighter's life, no matter how decorated, inevitably leads to moments of reflection. Success brings new responsibilities, and the question of what to do with the next chapter becomes a significant one. For Dakota, the future remains unwritten but full of possibility. She continues to train, evolve, and embrace the challenges of competition with the same intensity that defined her earliest fights. Looking at her career as a whole, from the early amateur days of determination to the professional knockouts that shook arenas, Dakota Dicha has demonstrated that greatness is shaped by persistence, adaptability, and the conviction to push beyond perceived limits. Her story is still unfolding, but the chapters already written reveal a fighter defined not only by her capacity for violence inside the cage, but by her resilience, her discipline, and her readiness to confront whatever lies ahead. Through each victory, she continues to etch her name into the history of women's MMA, offering fans the thrilling expectation that the next time she steps into the cage, another unforgettable moment will follow.